Manifesto time! Sorry. Path of Exile 3.16 Balance Part 1. Flasks and Ailment Mitigation. Very interesting. In Path of Exile Scourge, at October 3.16 expansion, we're making a number of changes to improve our characters, mitigate ailment, use flasks, and build the defenses of their character. Finally, we're changing the elemental overload and elemental equilibrium. That's uncalled for! Nobody asked for this! And massively buffing elemental damage over time to be less dependent on... The fuck, dude? No! No! Why? I don't want to read this anymore. We're planning to share our balance changes across 3 news posts. Part 1 covers ailment mitigation flask improvements. Part 2 covers core carry defense recovery. And Part 3 covers Aura's Curse elemental damage. Are you telling me I have to wait for Part 3 to know what they're doing with EE? Today we're talking about ailment mitigation and flask improvements, and we'll share Parts 2 and 3 in subsequent days. Oh man, I was just able to sleep till today. Am I gonna have some fucking restless nights again? Come on. Come on, GGG. Please note that as we're still in a couple of weeks out from release, anything here is subject to change based on our further testing and your feedback. Yes! Don't touch my EE. Ailment mitigation. In 3.15, we changed our flask to prevent ailments and curses on you, but didn't provide enough reasonable alternatives for mitigating ailments. Solution. Introduced a large number of options, improving existing options for characters to deal with ailments. Characters should now be able to pick between reservation skills that mitigates ailments, remove effects reactively with life or mana flask, gain immunity at a cost through utility flask, or use improved modifiers on items and the passive skill tree to mitigate ailments and curses. Specifics. Wait, how big is this? Oh my lord. Oh my lord. Oh, we're gonna be here for a while. Okay. We're gonna be here for a while, boys. Certain skills now mitigate ailments. Purity of elements now grant. Nobody's gonna use that. Anomalous purity elements. Okay, let's actually read it. You and your allies are immune to all elemental ailments. Wait. Okay, hold on. Purity of elements. Aura now grants you and your allies are immune to elemental ailments. wait, what? What? Oh, and they increased the reservation. Okay. I was like, wait, what the fuck, man? What the actual hell? Dude, I wonder, you know what I wonder? I wonder if the Alls amulet, does that exist actually? PoE Alls Uprising. Yeah, I can't even spell, but I think we get to the land. Does this exist for purities? They only include the specific purities, right? But they don't have purity elements here. Do they? No, because no, it's not, right? Here it is. There is one. This will actually be worth money. Wow. And I think they will be cheap though. Because the thing is, if this is cheap, I don't think it would be cheap enough to say that a low budget could afford it, but a medium budget build could actually utilize that. That covers all your res for the most part. And you get ailment immunity. That's actually pretty cool. Keep your eyes out for that one. Holy shit. Anomalous purity element no longer grants you and your allies have a chance to avoid. Instead, it's increased the effective aura. Okay, fair enough. Eternal Labyrinth champion purity elements reservation has been changed to massive value of the other 50% reservation aura. Steel skin buff now grants you are immune to bleeding during effects. Okay. Tempest shield is now a reservation effect and grants immunity to shock as mentioned below. Oh. Utility flasks now have modifiers that grant immunity to an ailment during flask effect but lessen the duration of the flask. This takes the place of the modifier that gives a specific ailment immunity if used with the ailment is active. Oh, so we're getting the flask metas back, boys. Depending on how the duration will be. For example, immunity to bleeding and corrupted blood during flask effect, 35 to 39% less duration. Ooh. New tiers of the modifiers that give immunity to an ailment if used while the ailment is active have been added to life and mana flask, providing up to 17 seconds of immunity at the highest... Wait, hold on. New tiers of the modifiers that give immunity to an ailment if used while the ailment is active. Okay, so you get immunity if you use it when you have the ailment. 17 seconds. Okay, now that actually is pretty nice. So you act reactively to it, and then you get immunity for up to 17 seconds. That's pretty fucking dope, actually. Don't think we'll use it anyways, though. Allied consecrated ground now grants 50% reduced effect of curses on you while standing on it. A rebalance of passive classes that provides the element protection as well as new passes across the new passive tree. Between Templar and Witch, Asylum now grants chaos resistance as well as protecting against curses instead of increasing consecrated ground effect. Oh. Between the Witch and Shadow, there's a new cluster protecting against poison, bleeding, and stun. Sure, nobody cares. New sources of Rund Noodle with a tier 1 for 3 months. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate that a lot, dude.
Part of the ship, part of the crew.
Goddamn right. Thank you very much, Run Noodle, for the 3 months total, man. Appreciate that very much, man. Thank you. New sources of protection from stun, curses, critical strikes, and ailments as well. More specialized mechanics like Corrupted Blood, Maim, Hinder, and Impale. Ooh. New keystone passive skills added to the center of the tree that causes intelligence to provide no inherited bonus to any shield, but instead reduces elemental ailments duration on you. Interesting. Many Pantheon powers have been updated to better mitigate ailments. Some Pantheon modifiers have been updated to be more of a choice with others. More of a choice with others. Soul of the Brine King. Upgraded Soul of the Brine King Pantheon now grants cannot be... Oh, this is going to affect the crafting meta. Oh my god. Oh, what? Brine King upgrade, it makes it so you cannot be frozen instead of you can't be frozen if you've been frozen recently. Oh my god, the boot crafting meta is going to change so hard. It's not much for minion builds though. Minion build still wants it because they need Lunaris for avoiding chain projectiles. But everything else, oh my lord, holy fuck, dude, that's insane. Arakali no longer grants 10% chance to avoid lightning damage. It now grants 10% reduced damage taken from damage over time, previously 5. Upgraded Soul of Arakali no longer grants 30% reduced effective shock. Instead, it grants debuffs on you, expires 20% faster. That's pretty fucking big, actually. Upgraded Soul of Arakali Pantheon now grants 40% plus Chaos Rest against damage over time, previously 25. Oh god. Aberrath is instead no longer 5% reduced damage taken while moving or unaffected by burning ground. It now grants 60% less duration of ignites on you. That's actually massive. Soul of Aberrath no longer grants 50% reduced ignite duration. It now grants unaffected by ground if you upgrade it, as well as 10% increased movement speed while on ground, burning grounds. Okay. Shikari, let me just mark this so I can see where the fuck I am. Soul Shikari and the upgraded Soul Shikari Pantheon powers have been swapped. Soul Shikari now Pantheon now grants 50% less duration of poisons on you, and you cannot be poisoned while there are at least 3 poisons on you. Previously 5. Thank you. Oh my god, because if you hit 5 poisons, you were dead already. Upgraded Soul Pantheon now grants 5% reduced damage taken and 25% reduced chaos damage ever taken over time while on caustic ground. Soul of Ralakesh no longer grants 25% avoid bleeding. Instead, it grants moving while bleeding doesn't cause you to take extra damage. Okay. Soul of Yugul no longer grants 50% chance to reflect enemy chills and freezes. Instead, it grants 50% chance to reflect hexes. And you and your minions take 50% reduced reflect damage. Previously 25. Upgrade Soul Yugul now grants 30% reduced effective curses on you. Previously 20. Nobody's going to use it anyways. Garakan no longer grants 5% chance to evade attack hits if you're taking a savage hit. Instead, it now grants 60% reduced effective shock on you. So they're making the Pantheon the solution to your ailments, basically. That's what they're saying. Tukama now grants, while stationary, gain 3% additional fist damage mitigation every second to a maximum of 9, previously 2 to a maximum of 8. Upgraded Soul Tukama no longer grants while stationary, gains 0.5% of light regen every second, up to a maximum of 2. Instead, it grants 2% while stationary. End of story. Okay. Okay. So this is a bit whatever, and this is fucking insane. But Shikari was really good, actually. I like what they did with Shikari. This was needed, very much needed. Crafting modifiers have been updated. The Veil modifier on body armor that granted 25 to 30% chance to avoid elemental ailments and being stunned now grants 30 to 35 chance. Crafting bench version of the modifier has been updated accordingly. Chance to avoid elemental ailments. Crafting bench option now grants 21 to 25, previously 16 to 18. The reduced effective chill and shock is crafting 30 to 40 instead of 21 to 25, so up in that a big time. Added the following new crafting bench modifier. Shields take no extra damage from bleed while moving. Oh, interesting benchcraft. Belt gets chaos rest over time versus damage over time. Boots avoid bleeding 50-60. Rings ignite duration and chill effect the shock and effect the curses. Helmets gets effective freeze. Avoidance crafting bench options are now called ailment, stun, and curse mitigation. Updating crafting bench modifier, unlock locations. Rank 2 attribute crafting bench option now unlocked in the Western Forest in Act 6. These were previously unlocked in the Ascent in Act 4. Rank 3 attributes crafting bench option are now unlocked in maps that were previously unlocked in the Western Forest Act 6. Huh. Rank 1 Ailment Stun and Curse Mitigation crafting bench options are now unlocked in the Ascent Act 4. These were previously unlocked in maps. That's actually a nice change. It's I don't think most people care about them, but it's actually a really nice change. The new belt crafting bench option is unlocked with other reduced damage over time crafting options. This unlock was in the Incursion Temple, but is now found in maps. Ooh, the remaining new crafting options are unlocked alongside other ailment, stun, and curse mitigation crafting options in the Ascent Act 4. The modifier level of existing modifiers in rank 1 ailment, stun, and curse mitigation category have been lowered, so the annual level requirement for these items is appropriate if you use this craft during the campaign. I'm not sure how much that's needed during the campaign, though, but it's still a really nice change. Updated certain rare item modifiers and added some new ones. Shields. Chance to avoid all elemental status ailments can now roll as a suffix on all shields, previously just dexterity shields. Fuck me, baby! The tier 1 chance to avoid all elemental status ailments modifiers can now grant up to 35%, previously 23%. Lower tier modifier has been adjusted accordingly. Okay, game. Okay. That's actually pretty fucking big. This actually feels like they're on the right path. Not the elemental equilibrium though, but everything else looks like they're actually going in the right direction with this. Holy shit. Influenced items. Dum dum dum. The chance to avoid ignite, freeze, shock modifiers on Crusader boots and quivers now scales up to 60% chance, previously 45. Chance to avoid poison and bleed modifiers on hunter boots is up to 50 from 35. The chance to avoid all elemental status ailments and modifiers on shaper boots is 35 up from 25. The chance to avoid stun is up to 35 from 30. That's not a big change. Reduced ignite freeze duration is up to 60 from 45. Reduced curse effect is 40 up from 35. And the moving while bleeding doesn't cause you to take extra damage. I can no longer roll on hunter shields because you can bench craft it. Improved avoidance values on essences. The chance to avoid shock, freeze, ignite modifiers on belts, helmets, and boots from essences of torment, suffering, anguish now scales to 60, previously 44. Lower tiers have been adjusted accordingly. Improved avoidance suffix modifiers on abyss jewels. Suffix modifiers that grant the chance to avoid ignite, chill, freeze, shock, poison, bleed, stun now scales to 30 instead of 20. You know how big this is? You know how big this is? You see, in the past, you can have 20% in a Darkness and Throne, which scales by 75%, which means you multiply by 1.75. That's a 35 roll. Now you have 30 multiplied by 1.75, and you get 52.5 if you put one of them in a Darkness and Throne belt. That is a massive, massive buff. Holy shit. Added 2 new modifiers to regular jewels. 15% reduced effect of chill and shock on you, 10% reduced effect of curses on you. We don't want more modifiers though. Timeless Jewels, the brutal restraint notable passive skill addition that grants a chance to avoid stuns now grants 20 instead of 10. Elegant Hubris, notable passive skill transformation that grants a chance to avoid being chill and chance to avoid being shocked that grants 80 instead of 50. These are actually massive. What the hell, dude? This is crazy. Cluster Jewels, the Elegant Form Cluster Jewel notable passive skill now grants 20% chance to avoid elemental ailments, previously 15. Jewel Corruption, adding an implicit modifier. No, we're gonna have a lower chance to hit the corrupted blood now. Oh no. 20-25 chance to avoid ignite, chill, freeze, shock, poison, bleed, and stun is now a possible outcome when corrupting all jewels. So basically fuck everyone else. Synthesis implicits modifiers on jewels that grants a chance to avoid ignite, chill, freeze, shock, poison, bleed, and stun now grants 8 to 10%, previously 3 to 5. That's fine. That's a nice chain. Not that we care that much about it. I think this is nice because like a lot of these changes are like making nobody want like okay. So what Nosen is saying in the chat, no one's used it, and now people actually might start using it. I like this. It creates diversity in decision making for actually mitigating these things. So it's not just one way to do it. Obviously there will always be one best way to do it depending on the meta builds, but this actually allows people to have different approaches to it, and I actually love that a lot. Harvest modifiers for avoiding ailments and reduced ailment effects is increased by 5%. Ring corruptions, obtaining an implicit cannot be poison ignited inflicted with bleed modifier is now possible earlier in the game when corrupting a ring and now has a higher outcome chance. Amazing. Some uniques have been updated. The Tear of tier of Purity Amulet no longer grants 5% chance to avoid elemental ailments. Instead, it now grants +5 to all resistances, as Purity Elements now gives elemental ailment immunity. The modifier had very little use. This affects existing versions of the item. Okay. Did anyone ever use Terra Purity? Like ever? I want to know. I'd like to know. Did anyone ever use Terra? No, but nobody used Terra Purity. no one used it. Okay. Conqueror's Longevity Jewel now grants 10% chance to avoid elemental ailments, previously 3. That's a massive one, actually. The GHAZZY Theater Shield now grants bleeding cannot be afflicted on you. Previously was 30 to 50 chance to avoid bleeding. The Kikasara Rings now grants 60% reduced effect of curses on you. Previously 40. Existing versions of this item can be updated. The new values with a divine. What the fuck, man? What the hell? We no longer need Sanctum of Thought, and we no longer need to play a Guardian to get curse immunity. Anyone can be curse immune. Or Hex. Well, no, it's actually outside Hex as well. You can be curse immune by just wielding 2 fucking Kikasarus. You could actually use 1 and have a little bit of effect from the tree. You no longer need to go down to Sanctum of Thought in the bottom left corner. You don't no longer need to be a Guardian. This is an insane change. What the fuck? This is great. Actually insane. What the hell? This is so good. Fuck me, that's amazing. 72 with Catalyst, 30 from Pantheon. Yeah, you it's enough with one ring. The one ring to rule them all and bind them in dark. Wait, no, that's wrong game. Flask, problem. I like how they're like, this is the problem, and here's the solution. Problem, many Flask modifiers grant buffs during Flask effect, which isn't well suited to a life or mana Flask short and reactive nature. Solution, add a new modifiers to life and mana Flask that are impactful but brief, but have a duration rather than applying during Flask effects. Dum dum dum. Specifics, remove many Flask effect modifiers on life and mana and added the following modifiers for life and mana Flask. Wait, removed many Flask effects. Which modifiers did you remove? Hinder nearby enemies with 40% reduced movement speed for 4 seconds if used while not on full mana Flask only. Hinder enemies with 40% reduced speed for 4 seconds while using not full life Flask only. Grants immunity to hinder for 17 seconds if used while hindered. Grants immunity to maim for 17 seconds if used while maimed. Recover an additional 40% of life recovery over 10 seconds if used while not on full life Flask only. EE changes not today. Now they're coming in the part 3. God damn it. The problem, utility flasks are usually used proactively. What do you mean usually? They're always used proactively. What's the point of getting extra armor, evasion, or whatever you want after you've been hit? They're always used proactively. Well, the ailment protection modifiers induced in 3.15 work by reacting to an ailment on you. Solution. Replace the ailment removal modifier in utility flasks with one that grants ailment immunity but lessen flask duration. Note that base duration on utility flasks have been increased to compensate. See below. Spoilers. Added new modifiers to utility flasks for mitigating ailments as well as adding more tiers to existing modifiers that are now only found on life and mana flasks as noted above. We've also added these ailment immunity modifiers for utility flasks as beastcraft options. Oh, baby. Immunity to bleeding and corrupted blood during flask. 35% less duration at the highest tier. Immunity to poison during Flask effect, 35% less duration at the highest tier. Immunity to shock during Flask effect, 35% less duration at the highest tier. Immunity to ignite during Flask effect, removes burning on use, 35% less duration at the highest tier. Immunity to freeze and chill during Flask effect, 35%. You get the point. Moving on. I actually think that's great. I think that's great. I love the idea with tiers on the Flask as well, because now Flask will become something you can upgrade. Normally, when you go through the act, it's like, oh, a life flask. Ooh, mana flask. Ooh, life flask. The fuck? I haven't dropped a life flask, but it's okay. I have 3 of the previous tier. I'll just vendor them for another one and say, oh, a life flask. And then, oh, a Quicksilver flask. And, that's about it, right? You get to Blood Aqueducts, you drop a couple of Divine Flasks, you're done. Most builds are kind of fine with that, right? That's how they progress. Now, at least we get to work with the Flask, because previously you smacked a couple of walls, went to the beast scrap, put the mod on it, you're done, right? For most builds, so most people do it that way. Then you have the people that are going for very specific modifiers, like specific roll on reflexes, iron skin, the whole shenanigans, right? But I think that this is a really good change. Problem: utility flasks are sustainable with enough character damage and clear speed. They actually are addressing this. Oh my god, it's like they've learned from their mistakes. This is incredible. There aren't any easy ways to sustain utility flasks for less powerful characters. Solution: get good. Oh, sorry, that's not what they wrote. Add new modifiers and improve existing modifiers on flasks that affect their duration or charge gain. Add some new passive skills to help sustain flat. So what I said before with them learning from their mistakes, I'll take that back. There is not a single player in this entire community that would ever consider using one of the three core fundamental ways of progressing your character's efficiency and power level in spending that in sustaining flasks. You see, here's the problem. I can't sustain my flasks because my character is not strong enough. Okay, so we look at the three things that my character can do to become stronger. I can get better gear, which is the main one. I can get higher level of my gems, but there's a limit on how far that can go. And I can use my passive tree. For each level I gain a passive skill tree point to make my character stronger. So here we present an issue with the flasks. I am unable to sustain my flask because I'm not clearing fast enough. I can spend passive points to make myself better and faster and stronger to actually be able to sustain it. Or I spend it to remain terrible and remain slow, but my flask will be recharging a little bit better. I mean, everybody knows that no one in the softcore community, at least, because the majority of the player base playing softcore will never choose that unless that specific node is insane. Like, I get a flash charge per hit, then I would arguably take it, right? No, I would actually at that point, but you get the point, right? New modifier that helps extend flask uptime. 66% increased charge recovery, 25% reduced effect. Extending utility flask duration. Quicksilver, diamond, granite, jade, quartz, silver flask now lasts 6 seconds, previously 4. Ruby, sapphire, topaz, quick, aquamarine, sulfur, basalt, stibnite, corundum flask now lasts 8, previously 5. Gold and iron, 5 up from 3. Bismuth, 8.5 from 5.5. And amethyst, 5 to 6.5, previously 4.5. Need flasks are being reviewed as a result of these changes. Dying sun has 40 to 60% less duration. Previously was 40 to 60% reduced duration. Huh? What? 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 Okay, so the previous one was an additive multiplier, and now it's a multiplicative modifier. Coruscating Elixir now has 25% increased duration. Previously it was 100. Okay. Bottle of Fate now has 15 to 30% reduced duration. Previously was 20 to 40 increased. That actually pans out pretty well, actually. It sounds worse than it is, because the baseline has been adjusted quite extensively. Right? Look at Sulfur Flask, for example. A Sulfur Flask got 3 seconds increase from 5. That's more than 50% increase base duration of the flask. That's actually pretty fucking massive. So having a 15 to 30% reduced duration instead of the 20 to 40, because if you had a perfect roll, 40% on 5, that puts you on 7 seconds. And now if you have a perfect roll Bottle of Fate with the duration in a situation, you have 8 seconds of base duration, and you multiply that with 75, right? Sorry, 85. Oops, I fucked that up. What was it? 8 multiplied by 85. With a perfect roll, which puts it on 6.8 seconds. So a perfect roll previously was 7 seconds. A perfect roll now is 6.8. So you won't notice that, but it's still going to be Duration is barely noticeable in the perfect situation, at least. Definitely going to... Well, it kind of pans out pretty well with the span as well. It's actually slightly improved because the span between 15 and 30 is 15, 20 to 40 is 20. So you actually have a higher chance of having a longer duration on the Bottle of Fate now than you did before, but the difference is so small. We're talking about 0.2 seconds difference, so it's you're not going to notice this. Improve flask investment in the dexterity area for the passive skill tree. Problem: even after lowering the power of many unique flasks in 3.15, unique flasks still outclass most magic utility flasks. In addition, the item level of Flask did not matter after a certain point. Solution. Buying MTXs increases your chances of rolling tier 1 modifiers. And they also added multiple tiers to most Flask modifiers at higher levels. Flask now have much more powerful effects available. Flask modifiers that increase armor and evasion are now weaker at their first tiers, as the changes to armor and evasion below makes them more powerful. Hunter Brew with tier 1 sub for 3 months. Thanks so much, sir. Appreciate that very much, dude. These changes allow us to restore some of the power that was removed from Flask in 3.15 without affecting the early mid-game so much. An example of the highest tier modifiers available. 60-65 reduce effective chill on you during Flask effect and freeze as well. 60-65 on shock and curses. Immunity to bleeding and corrupted blood during Flask. 35% less duration. Item level 76. That's actually good. I like that. I like that a lot. This means that people actually don't want to loot Flasks of decent item level. Filters will be changed, which means you have to render more items on the ground, but sure. I'm not sure it's worth reading through all of these numbers. I kind of like it. You look up, if you want to check out the ones you really want to look at, the modifiers, then go for that. But I mean, I like this. Freeze and chill, 35% less. Where's the bleed one? Immunity to bleeding, if used while bleeding. And bleeding and corrupted blood is 35% less, 76 as well. And the freeze one is actually even 72 already for tier 1, that is. I wonder what tier the Beastcraft will actually give. Not sure about that. What is it a problem that unique flasks are better than magic flasks? I actually think that's a bit weird as well. Isn't the whole idea with a unique item is supposed to be superior to a magic rolled flask or item? 17 seconds. Oh, the 17-second duration, these only account for if you use the flask when you have it. So if you have an ignition on you and you use the flask that dispels the ignition with this modifier, then you're immune to ignitions for the next 15 to 17 seconds. But it has to remove it. No, not in PoE. Well, magic is the way to go. Is this because GGG loves Magic the Gathering? So essentially, they're just paying homage to it, where magic is the new legendary. Problem: enkindling effects on Flask aren't impactful enough and aren't bringing Flask back to the kind of power that non-permanent uptime should grant. Buff some enkindling orb effects, most notably the increased Flask effect modifier. So buffing the increased effect Flask effect modifiers. So 80 to 100% increased duration. Previous was 70 to 90. That's actually pretty massive. All right, next one. 40 to 60 maximum charges. Previously 30 to 40. 25 35 reduced charges used. 20 to 30. MP, buy him coke. 150 titties. Thank you, dude. Jesus fuck, man. 60 to 80% increased charge recovery. Previously 50 to 60. 50 to 70 increased effect. Previously 40 to 50. Existing modifiers will be unaffected. Ooh, unaffected. I need a number from Lanky. A number that you're going to be completely held to in the future. So you better give me a good number now, sir. Problem: belts are now are the item slot intended to enhance Flask, but only have a limited list of modifiers that actually affect Flask in their modifier pool. Solution: add more tiers to Flask modifiers and belts. What? That's not a solution. I don't know. Does the casual players or the majority of the player base actually care about Flask modifiers on their belts? I was under the impression that we only used very specific ones. Very specific ones. And they were mostly weaved in the higher budget items. I mean, I'm just talking about profit crafting right now, so maybe that's why my view on this is so skewed. Darkwill uses Flask modifiers? Okay. I just needed to hear that, because I never did. I never used Flask modifiers on my belt. Nope, never needed those bones on my belt. And maybe they don't use because the 9 is where it's supposed to be. Yeah, okay, no, that's fair. That's a fair way to put it. The solution, at least, is to add more tiers and move the Flask effect modifiers out of the influence modifier pool into the base modifier pool for belts. No, that's going to make belt crafting harder. Oh, come on, man. Adding more tiers to belt modifiers that affect Flask, resulting in buffs to most modifiers, most notably life and mana recovery modifiers. Here are some examples of values of some high tier modifiers. 40% increased life Flask recovery rate. And mana. Well, the mana was used, but not sure about the life one. 40% increased Flask charge gained. Okay, that's actually pretty good. 40% increased Flask charge gained is pretty massive, actually. Increased Flask effect duration is pretty good as well. Flask applies to you have 12% increased effects. Okay, fair. Moving them actually makes it harder. Yeah, moving them away from influence modifiers makes it harder to craft every item. Every type of belt will now be harder to craft because of this, because it adds to the mod pool, which makes the suffix modifiers harder to achieve. I wonder how crafting is going to be effective, all these changes. Flask is fine, right? But the gear pieces, they fix some other changes on the shields and whatnot as well, right? Problem. Instant recovery life loss are by far the most reliable tool for survivability, as the total life recovery from Flask is reasonable but spread over a long period of time. Solution. Keep the total life recovery from all life loss the same, but half the amount of time for this to occur, which doubles their healing per second. This is a huge improvement to how effective non-instant life loss are at keeping you alive in tough situations. Wait, let me read that one more time. I don't think I got it. Keep the total life recovery from all life losses the same, but they're going to halve the amount of time for this to occur, which doubles their healing per second. So basically, they're doubling the efficiency of all flasks. They're doubling the efficiency, but they are removing this whole thing where you can have a long period of duration of regenerating, but that only happens if you're not on full HP. At that point, it stops. I think this is a pretty good change. But they said all life loss. This will actually, oh wow, this will be pretty massive during the campaign for a lot of people, actually, because there is a modifier on Flask that makes it faster, right? But cuts in on the amount recovered. Catalyzed? Yeah, that might be the name. So this is actually a pretty cool change. And this means that the bigger Flask, like Eternal Life Flask, will actually be worth looking at as well. Interesting. Blood of the Karoo unique Flask has been reviewed as a result of these changes. Now it's 35 to 50% reduced recovery rate, previously 5 to 20 increased. Okay. That's a good change, actually. That's a very good change. People are complaining about some changes. Like, for example, in Act 1 Mudflats, you get charged by a Roa, you click your life flasks, and if you wait about 6.5 years, you're going to have full HP again. Now that's going to be faster. So that's a pretty cool change. Problemo. There are no accessible tools for a player to change their charge gain method if gaining charges on kill isn't well suited to their slower playstyle. Slower playstyle? Okay. Solution. Rework the survival jewels available through Sacred Ground quest to let you gain charges another way, while reducing the charges gained from kills. These designs are still in progress. Okay. Problem. Rangers don't have a form of life recovery that they excel at, while almost every other core character has a signature special recovery method. I thought everybody used flasks. Solution. Add new and improve existing passive skills specializing in the recovery of charges for life and mana flasks, as well as life recovery from flasks in the Ranger section of the passive skill tree. I'm not sure I'm a big fan of the passive skill tree, because I think what people need to realize, which they do if you take 2 seconds to stop, stand still, hold your ground, and just read what the fuck is happening and understand the way this game works. You have 3 ways to scaling your character. 1 is leveling your character. Each level and passive skill tree points from quest gives you 1 passive point on the skill tree. That's one way of upgrading your character. The other one is skill gems, which is limited to level 20 with 20% quality, 21 with corruptions, right? And the third way is gear. And because these are fundamental to scaling the efficiency of a character's power overall, and we know that people play, at least the majority of the player base plays very squishy builds because they want to have as much damage as possible. I'm not sure I like these changes. Like, the passive tree changes is mostly for defensive aspects, is used in hardcore for the most part, right? But in softcore, they need to be attractive enough. Like, they need to be absolutely massive to make people want to spec into them, because they're essentially losing damage to do it, right? So they have to be really fucking attractive. And this is something we've been asking for, more options for defense, even in the passive tree. We have asked for this, and now we're getting it. But they have to be absolutely fucking attractive. Otherwise, it's just going to be another node we're going to ignore. Added life regeneration if you've used a life flask in the past 10 seconds, and mana gained on hit with attacks if you've used a mana flask in the past 10 seconds to the ranger starting area. That's really interesting. Now, this is something that I think would be nice, at least in the early stage, and then you can respec out of it. That's a really nice change. Add new passive skills in the ranger section of the passive tree that increases generation of life and mana flasks. including gain a flash charge on hitting enemies with a short cooldown. This is exactly what I was talking about before. Add a new source of life and mana flash gaining charges every 3 seconds, and life flash gaining charges when you use suppressed spell damage. When you suppress spell damage. This is pretty fucking dope, dude. This is exactly what I was talking about. Giving us ways to get charges on hitting enemies is a great solution, and putting that on the passive tree is a very fine balance. I like this. And that concludes part 1 of our 3.16 expansion balance changes. Tomorrow we'll share part 2, which covers our plan for core character defenses and recovery. Please keep in mind that as we are so far away from launch, elements of what we've written here may change after further playtesting, feedback, and iteration. There's plenty more to discover in our upcoming reveal of Path of Exile Scourge and its patch notes. See you tomorrow. Posted by the community team. Sheesh. Okay. What is my take on this? A little TLDR section for the YouTube video that we're doing right now. I think that a lot of the changes are completely fucking useless. I think that the idea of moving mitigations for ailments to the Pantheon is really cool. The suppressed spell damage league 45 for casters. It might as well be. I don't know what it means. We'll see. We'll see. Probably get that tomorrow. So I like the changes they did with the purity of elements to get complete immunity and increase the reservation, because what this allows us to do is that builds that falls behind can always enable an impurity of element at the cost of losing a reservation for damage, but you also now, instead of just fixing a rest because you lack the gear, you get immunity to elemental ailments. Now is going to be an attractive solution for a lot of those builds. And not to mention that it increases the value of things that have been completely useless, such as the All's Uprising with an purity of elements role. I don't think that's going to be a situation where it's cheap or accessible enough or having a supply on the market for low budget builds, but I think around medium budget builds could actually utilize that as an actual really good choice. So I think that's really cool. I love the Flask changes. I really do. I think the Flask changes are pretty much on point. Obviously, we'll have to play test this and see how it feels, but it seems like that's going to be a very good choice to do. I love the idea with the Pantheons. I think that's really, really cool. I love the modifiers they've done with the ailments. I do not like the modifier change on the belts with the flasks. I don't like that at all. And the reason I don't like it is because crafting in this game is already rather hard. And when they're moving modifiers from an influence pool into being on every base item for the belts and not just a specific influence, which is good in one sense, because now you can roll certain flask modifiers without needing that influence item, which removes some of the value away from the influence pool into the base item, which is something I think is needed. The problem with this is that you are essentially adding more, in this case, suffix modifiers, which makes hitting whatever else you want on the suffixes on those belts harder to hit. So, there's pros and cons of it. I would say, though, that I'm leaning more into that being a good change than a bad thing. So, I'm not sure, but I just want to have that mentioned. The essence changes, I'm not sure how I feel about that too much. Dual corruptions, I think that that's okay. I think that the changes on values on elemental the element avoiding modifier, especially on duels, is a really massive one, especially in combination with Darkness and Throne, for example. I like the duration changes and the immunities. I think it's really good. It feels like it's getting you to the point where it's a nice balance. And the fact that you get tiers on the crafts allows us to actually have a flask being something you work on and progress on. Something that's really enjoyable. I'm playing the Anomaly League right now in PoE, and we've been doing like in soul self-found situations and whatnot. It's always fun when you drop something that you actually feel like, hey, I can work with this, or I can use this as an upgrade because I feel like I'm progressing my character, and these changes emphasizes more on your character progression to a higher power level, instead of just leveling to whatever level you go for through the campaign and doing maps, and suddenly, bam, you have your flask. You're now done. You're not going to touch your flask forever. Now you actually have a sense of progression with your flask, and I think it's really nice. I think they really hit the right spots here, and to me it feels like they're on the right path with this. I was very disappointed with a lot of changes in 3.15, but reading this reassures me that they know what the fuck they're doing for the most part, and I'm very happy to see these changes being implemented. It's gonna be fun to see what the final results will be in case they change anything of this. The Kikasaro ring is actually insane. They grant 60% with Catalyst. You get 72%. You can get 30 from the Pantheons. So you can essentially get curse immunity by having one Kikasaro instead of two by using the Pantheons for it. There's a lot of upgrades and a lot of tweaks and combinations you can do with these changes that are absolutely crazy cool. But yeah, I don't think I have much more to add for this. I think it's really good. I'll leave a link in the descriptions below for you guys to check out the post if you guys want to read it more in detail. And yeah, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe for more content. There's going to be a lot of content coming up in the coming days. I will also be posting a 3.16 nerf prediction video very soon here on the YouTube channel as well. So stay tuned for that. Hit the like button, subscribe for more content. Hit the like button and subscribe. There we go. Thank you. Stay safe. Keep rocking.